All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Kingdom of the Kael Isles. Yes, this is my custom D&D campaign. It's been going on for almost 3 years now, which is super, super cool. And they have just found themselves in a whole new world.
You haven't given us a magic carpet, so that song does not apply.
You guys found magic carpets. They tried to strangle you.
I have a very bad memory of that.
That is a perfectly legitimate form of magical carpet. Just because you guys didn't make friends with it doesn't mean it wasn't magical. And it was hilarious.
I hate smothering rugs.
They're amazing. What's happened most recently, these guys, from their understanding, they succeeded in what they've been trying to do for over a year now, which is overthrow the oppressive Eladrin government by taking out the head of the government, the Council of One. And in the last part of the fight, they got some much-needed help from a former party member of theirs who they knew as Song, who just kind of appeared out of nowhere, gave them a boost of health so that they could finish him off, and then had minions, flying devil minions, that came in, did something to the device they were trying to destroy, and then the next thing they knew, they woke up in a brand new place. The last session we had, they started learning that they're now on a different plane of existence. They are in the Feywild, which is a realm of magic and kind of beauty and a little bit of nature. And they've discovered that they've kind of arrived there in the middle of like 4 or 5 simultaneous wars all going on. And they're being taken to the Eternal Empress, who is the leader of what's called the Verdant Empire, which is the government that kind of controls the Feywild itself. Like all the lands of the Feywild tend to fall under this Verdant Empire government. Yes, they've been traveling towards a town that, for the life of me, I cannot remember right now. To meet up. I'm sure one of you guys have it written down. You're good players. Short stock. There we go. To meet up with a regiment of the military for the Verdant Empire, who are going to. I think I originally said they were going to take you all the way back to the capital, Alandwil. And that's not. I'm going to retcon that slightly. They're going to take you to the closest large enough city to have a teleportation circle in it. And you guys are actually going to teleport to Alandwil, which is still going to take a little bit of time, but it's not going to take the weeks that traveling on foot would take to get there. You guys had a little bit of a conversation with
Aramis.
Aramis, there we go. Aramis, where he kind of explained a little bit of the history that you guys that it had been erased in the Kingdom of the Kael Isles, and so you guys are starting to find out a little bit more of history and a little bit more of how the multiverse works. All of which had been suppressed by the Eladrin government. So yeah, that's where you guys are right now. You are heading to Shorestock, or is that what it's called, Shorestock?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You guys are still heading towards Shorestock. You're still about a day's journey outside of it. And Aramis has had. Calm down, Tom.
Hey, listen.
You found his secret. Aramis has had some conversations with a few of you guys trying to figure out a little bit more about you. He seems overwhelmed by the fact that you guys even exist. So, yeah, you guys wake up in the morning. You know you've got another roughly day's journey. Is there anything that you guys want to do or prepare before you set out into the wilds?
I'm going to attempt to cast Mage Armor myself because I have no idea where we are or what's happening.
Oh, you're going to need an AC of like 30.
That'd be amazing. Or it might kill me, so you know.
Yep. You practice enough that you've now kind of got control over your magic.
Yeah, I'll do that too if I haven't done that yet.
Okay. So you guys watch as Willow and Kata both kind of make some arcane sigils. The one big difference is normally, Willow, when you would cast Mage Armor, you would kind of get this kind of translucent, slightly glowing armor. Whereas here, it's not quite as translucent. It looks like you were wearing a suit of very elaborate, not particularly practical armor. Like it has lots of, like, it's got big shoulders and it's shiny and all this stuff and
Looks funny on a gnome.
Yeah, it's whatever color you want it to be. So that's the only big difference between your normal mage armor that just kind of looks like a little glowing plates on you to, now you look like you've summoned a mystical set of impractical armor.
All right.
Or at least impractical for someone so small and not wading into battle with a giant greatsword or something.
What's that, Mike?
So we can see this too?
Yeah. She looks a little badass.
I'm like, damn girl. Right?
It's kind of purplish with silver detailing too, because that's kind of her go-to color. So she's a little bit surprised by it, but that's where we are right now.
It does have a helmet with a closed face, so you can see her eyes. Like, it doesn't interfere with you talking or anything like that. You're just
tiny little gnome. Full part now.
It's so cute.
Tiny little battle gnome.
That's neat.
Well, Avok is sitting there with an axe and a loincloth.
Yeah, Avok's actually sitting there still. It's probably the one. Actually, no. Kata probably is processing all the info that we got last time more slower. No offense, Kate.
That's okay. She has an intelligence of 8.
Yeah, that's kind of why. My intelligence. So Avok's doing a little processing, and I want to see because David remembers maybe low key information, but let me see if Avok knows anything. Roll 10 on a straight intelligence check. Nah, I'm gonna say he doesn't really recall certain information. So,
sure. Generally, for general information checks, a DC 10 is not an uncommon DC. Like, what specifically are you trying to remember?
Christopher and his connection to the elemental wars.
Yeah, you guys didn't really get a whole lot of info on that from Aramis.
Talone.
Oh yeah.
A lot of shit on this.
Yeah, DC 10 would kind of, if it was something that you were told, you would probably remember it with a DC 10.
Okay, I guess that's fair. That's average. All right, so yeah, Avok is just like Oh, hey guys. Remember Fancy Eladrin? What's his name? Talone? Yeah, yeah. He said that him and Christopher es- uh, escaped from here because of this whole war-ish stuff.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, it just occurred to me.
Oh,
oh,
that would make sense with the timing.
As you guys are talking, Aramis kind of shows up and like, so, ready to go?
Lead the way.
All right. Stay close. We're far enough away from the scorched front that we shouldn't run into uh, anybody from the scorched dominion, but we're still in the wilds, still kind of dangerous. So keep your guard up. And then he sees Willow. That might be slight overkill, but you do you.
Trying to. Not the exact intent, but we'll go with it.
And so if you guys don't have anything else that you want to do, he's going to head off with you guys in tow.
okay.
All right,
Can I
sure.
position myself like next to him? I want to try to not necessarily make amends with him, but thank him for what he did for us.
Sure. He's kind of, jumping between. You see him face stepping a lot between areas and scouting, but you are able to keep pace with him if you want. And he's kind of an intuitive guy, so he does kind of see as you guys are traveling that you have something you want to say. So he eventually is like, so, yeah.
I wanted to thank you for helping us with that thing.
Oh, the
The other
Warforged. Oh,
day.
don't even worry about it. Literally, that's kind of my job. As a scout, I found information, I send it back to the troops, and if I find a lone scout or something like that, I make sure that they can't do the same for the Scorched Dominion. Keep giving us the edge we need to end this war. Hasn't really
I,
turned out as well as I'd hoped, or ended as quickly as I'd wanted it. But hey, you do what you can.
well, if I didn't gather everything you guys talked about last night, but it seems like things are changing. So keep your head up. I also wanted to apologize for coming at you yesterday.
I
It was
understand.
pretty.
I don't know what exactly happened, in the prime material plane and the Kael Isles, but whatever it was big, and obviously was a big deal to you guys. So
We're dealing with a lot of trauma right now, and I know that could have been handled better, but whatever. If you can move past it, I would certainly like to get to know you. Um,
sure, there's not a whole lot to know. Um,
I noticed you face stepping. That is something that I can barely do, or at least used to be able to barely do. And then I kind of like get a light bulb above my head, and I try misty stepping
sure.
more than once because normally I can only do it once a day.
Go ahead and roll me a concentration check.
That's not going to go well. 9+. Yeah, that's a 10.
Uh,
12.
you uh,
12.
you face step, and normally when you face step, um, what you kind of feel is you kind of scrape against a hard surface as you travel to a different place. Like um, you kind of blink out of existence, and then you travel and then you blink back into existence. But as you're traveling, you're kind of fighting against something to get to where you want to go. That doesn't happen here. When you face step, you kind of step, and the world kind of shifts in light to kind of an ultraviolet kind of spectrum, and you can see everything, and you can move in any direction without any difficulty. But because you're used to kind of like slogging through whenever you face step, you overestimate where you're going, and you end up about 30 feet in the air when you come out of the face step and just start plummeting down. Where Aramis, as you're about 10 feet above the ground and you're kind of bracing yourself for the hit, you suddenly feel very light.
I was going to say, if he didn't, I was going to.
Slowly float down the remaining 10 feet. And Aramis kind of turns to you and goes, "You may want to practice a little bit. Your face step is going to be a little different than what you're used to."
Apparently, thank you for that.
Yeah, the way it's supposed to work is we are, the Eladrin, we're from the Feywild. This is where we're born. This is where our spirits are connected. We are infused with magic from the Feywild. Because of that, we can sometimes just kind of step into the Feywild and use that to travel faster and quicker than most other beings. However, since you come from the prime material plane, which has been cut off for 600 years, you've never actually been able to step into the Feywild. To be perfectly honest, I don't even know how you guys could face step in the prime material plane.
I guess we're just that good.
Anyway, it'll be a little different here, but you'll get used to it.
Yeah,
And as
yeah.
he says that, he face steps up to a tree, about 30 feet above the ground onto a branch.
As I am actively trying to think about anything other than what's on my mind, I just look at him and am like starstruck almost. Like I don't actually care about it, but I'm trying to really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, wow, that's amazing, so cool. And then I just keep walking.
And then you watch him jump down. He's like, but it's still limited. And then continues walking. You get the idea that he may have exhausted his uses of face step for a little bit.
Sure.
To kind of show off.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
So as you guys are continuing to walk, he goes, "So you're, you've never seen the land of your ancestors. Do you have any questions about, your people's history or anything like that?" And again, I'm not a historian. I actually didn't do all that well in history when I was in school, but I know a fair amount.
I feel like I don't even know where to start. I don't. I mean, obviously, we don't know how we got here, but I don't. I don't know. I need to wrap my head around this first.
All right. Well, if you have any questions, just let me know. And he takes out his rapier and kind of uses it a little bit as a machete to cut through a couple vines and stuff like that. You notice he's incredibly skilled with it. Like every cut and stab that he's made thus far has been made with incredible precision. So he's definitely not someone you would ever want to get into a duel with without having something up your sleeve. And so he kind of heads off a little ahead of you guys to continue scouting and making sure that you're not running into a horde, a coven of hags or something.
Is he still within range of Pass Without a Trace?
Um, if you cast it, he would know the spell well enough that he would stick close enough to
Okay.
be within it. So no more than about 30 feet away from you, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Yeah, he's familiar with Pass Without a Trace.
Yeah, if we're trying to stealth, I'll cast it.
Okay. Yeah, he's not trying to be particularly stealthy. He's just trying to avoid confrontations with regular things that you would find in the wildlife. So.
Yeah, this will just help us a little
Yep.
more.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he kind of acknowledges and thanks you for the spell because it's not a spell that he has access to, being a wizard. Probably would be particularly useful with him being a scout. But that's just not his. That's not his thing.
So Aramis,
Yep.
the Empress,
The Eternal Empress.
what's her name? Athemir?
That's a fantastic question.
I wrote down Athemir.
Esmiel.
Yeah,
Esmiel
Esmiel, I think is the right.
Wenier. So you combine the two words.
Fantastic.
Give me a couple seconds. I can tell you exactly what it is because I have it all written down. I just don't have the thing open. There we go.
You said she's been ruling for 1,600 years or so.
Roughly, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, we're not from here. Like, is that a normal length of rule?
No. It's one of the reasons we call her the Eternal Empress. She is one of the longest serving emperors or empresses of the Verdant Empire. Normally, most rulers only rule for maybe 500-600 years. Some of the more long ruled ones might have gotten up to 800 years. But since the elemental wars have been going on for so long, she has refused to become a noble Eladrin and kind of join her ancestors and things like that, so that she can continue to run the empire and ensure it doesn't collapse under the weight of the 4 elemental planes all attacking at the same time.
Of course, of course.
How long do people live here?
Well, with the war and everything, not a whole lot of people die of old age. Let's put it that way.
But if they did?
Well, most it depends on the race. The Genasi, with their human heritage, generally don't live too much longer than maybe 90 to 120 years. The few, God, it's been a long time. There used to be humans that lived, again, somewhere in the realm of like 90 years. Most of them eventually, depending on which plane they eventually emigrated to, eventually became one of the Genasi races. So, yeah, we don't really have too many humans anymore. They've all gone Genasi. But yeah, I mean, Eladrin are relatively long lived. You could theoretically, again, Esmiel is or the Empress, I should say. I get in trouble because I don't exactly show her the respect that I'm supposed to. Um, but she's kind of a special case due to the fact that being the Empress of the Verdant Empire, she is privy to uh, a host of clerics and druids that help her to maintain her youth and help her to stay healthy so that she can, run the empire and, coordinate the war and everything like that. The prince consort is much younger. He's only about 400 years old, and will probably live a much more normal lifespan, despite what the Empress might want. Just because he doesn't see himself as worthy of the additional lifespan that the Empress is kind of required to have.
Are there other gnomes here?
Not really. Gnomes.
Okay.
It's been a while since we've seen too many gnomes here. I believe there might be a few colonies in the Terrestrial Commonwealth.
Okay.
Gnomes themselves, I believe, originally started in the Feywild, but they became obsessed almost with the prime material plane as soon as contact was made millennia ago, and most of them emigrated through.
Well,
So you'll
at least
be,
in the Kael Isles, I don't know how many more there are left.
well, we'll figure that out once we see the Empress.
We're on our way to Shorestock, you said?
Yeah, it's a smaller kind of fishing community. Before the Elemental Wars, it used to be a relatively large, well, I guess not large, but important stopping points on trade routes between the Scorched Dominion and Alandwil. Since then, since trade has kind of dried up, it's kind of shrank and gotten smaller and smaller up to what it is now, which is this fishing village. There's a little bit of agriculture there, but they were supported by trade. And when the people you trade with are trying to kill you, trade tends to take a dive.
Sure thing.
They're still great
more
people,
thing.
though.
One more thing that I can't even fathom is we're talking about the Eladrin Empire here in the Commonwealth, or the Verdant Empire.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? Like the Kael Isles, I mean, it was kind of like the Platinum City, and then whatever other little cities we wanted to care about. Like, is this a large empire? Is it? What is the class structure? I mean, we had nobles where we came from. We had. I don't understand where we are. I don't
Well,
have enough information.
that's a little bit more complicated than I can really go into. I mean, there's politics and stuff like that, but there is nobility. Most of the larger cities have it's called a Knight Protector. They run the city, and their job is to protect the city. They have their own, guard that helps them to do that. They help keep the peace, and in the event that the city is ever besieged or attacked, the Knight Protector is expected to lead the troops in defending the city. So all of the Knight Protectors are nobles. They all have a seat on the Council of Nobles, and the Council of Nobles informs the Empress. And technically, if the Empress or Emperor, when we have one, starts doing things that aren't in the best interest of the people of the Verdant Empire, the Council of Nobles can force her to step down from her position. They can imprison her. They can execute her. It's kind of a check and balance type system. While the Empress herself makes all the decisions for the Verdant Empire, she can elevate someone to noble status based on deeds, give out land, give out titles, things like that. And she also is the commander of our armed forces. So she makes battle decisions and things like that. With she has a war council because, well, after fighting a war for a millennia, she has gotten pretty good in her military knowledge. But when she first started, she was much more adept at running an empire than she was waging a war. So she has a war council, and the Prince Consort was a high-ranking member of the military that kind of caught her eye, and they hit it off. So he has been able to give input as well, and he has a brilliant tactical mind. So the combination of the War Council and Prince Dalian means that we have probably the most powerful military in any of the elemental planes. It's just the fact that we're fighting 4 wars simultaneously.
Sure.
Well, thank you for that. I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, no, Alanduel is amazing. You guys will be really, really excited when you get a chance to see it. I'm absolutely thrilled every time I get a chance to come back to Alanduel. It's breathtaking every single time. I should get back to Scout. And he runs off ahead of the group again. So he gets far enough away that if you guys wanted to have a conversation out of earshot, you can.
Sure.
I turn. I look to Avok. I look to Willow. I look to Kata. There's no way they're not hiding something. This is too good to be true. I can't believe that this is real.
Why would you cut yourself off from this if it was this good?
They ran from the war because their empire was too strong. I don't know. No.
I mean, it has been 600 years. But I don't know. I won't trust it until I see it either.
He's fast. He's real fast. I barely got my hands on him last time when I rushed him.
Yeah. Well, if need be, there are 4 of us. But I don't think that there will be. Not with him.
So as you guys travel a little bit further, eventually you see him kind of come back and go, this is probably going to be the safest place we're going to be in until we reach the town. So I figured now's as good a time as any to sit down for lunch. Do you guys have rations or... You know what? Don't even worry about it. And he waves his hand, and food just starts appearing in bowls and things like that, and some of it, a vast majority of it, is fruits and things like that. But there are some baked goods and things like that. You don't see any meat, though.
I cast protection for poison on myself,
Okay.
and I start to eat.
It's good. It's it's probably some of the best fruit you've ever had.
Avok looks around, see if there's anything with some protein on it.
As he sees you looking around, he kind of looks at you and he nods. He's like, "I know that look. Protein's a lot harder to create than it sounds. If you want, I'm certain we can find something in the woods nearby. It'll probably take us 30 minutes to an hour. But if you'd like something with some, meat to it, we can find it. You'll just have to help me hunt for it."
Just lead the way.
Not a problem. Go ahead and make me a survival check.
Alrighty. 14.
All right. He's going to roll. He is not wisdom based, so he's not going to do that great. He got a nat 1. You are leading this hunt. He seemed like he's going off and he's looking for things, and you see him like every so often he'll stop and he'll pick up a blade of emerald colored glass and like smell it and taste it a little bit. And after he does this about 3 times, you get the idea that he's completely out of his element, and you just kind of take over. And you see relief kind of wash over his face. You do eventually find what kind of looks like deer, but it's got 6 legs instead of 4, and is about like a foot and a half to 2 feet taller than probably the largest deer you've ever seen. And the antlers themselves on it are almost geometric in design. They have all these right angles and things like that. It's looks very, very bizarre. But you don't have too much issue getting one of these deer-like creatures away from the pack. And after about 45 minutes or so, you guys see Avok coming back with this weird kind of white and amethyst striped deer-looking creature over his shoulders, and then Aramis goes, "I'll make a fire," in kind of a dejected voice, and he starts a fire up.
I don't recognize this creature, do I?
No, this is unlike anything you've ever seen. Again, it looks kind of similar to a deer. But deer are generally like brown and white, and this is kind of a silver and amethyst color. And has stripes, and deer don't generally tend to have stripes on them. And again, the whole 6-leg thing is really weird.
Yeah, well, more meat. Avok is just gonna skin the sucker and get it ready for cooking.
You have no problem doing a field dress on it. You're able to harvest the pelt if you want. You don't have enough salt or anything to be able to cure it, but you can store the pelt for later if you want.
Sure. I guess I will hold on to deer pelt.
So, Fey deer pelt. So now you guys have meat. It tastes kind of similar to venison. It's got that kind of gaminess to it, but it
I pulled
has
some spices out of my pack and help Adam.
Tastes even better. It's still a unique flavor. Like, it's got almost a sweetness to the meat that you're not used to tasting, but
Not bad at all.
and you can see that what's his name, Aramis, very very happy to have protein. You think it's probably been a little bit of time since he's had protein beyond, nuts and beans.
While
So,
we're sitting and eating,
mhm.
Willow's just kind of thinking about all the things they've learned and starts thinking about the fact that if they did shut the machine down and they're not having their life force drained anymore, do we feel any different?
Again, you all feel when you first awoke in the Feywild, you did feel kind of lighter, like there's this weight that's been taken off of you.
Okay.
But beyond that, you can't really tell. Again, you've lived your entire life with this machine draining you,
Sure.
so it's kind of hard to tell how much of. And you've lived your life in oppression. It's kind of hard to tell how much of the weight lifted is the fact that you're no longer being drained of your life, or you're no longer being oppressed by a xenophobic government.
There's
Right?
not like
That
a few
takes a
younger
toll.
animal. Sure.
So, anything else you guys do while you're? Okay. You do notice that Aramis takes some of the leftover meat because you guys don't finish a whole deer. Takes some of the leftover meat and towards the end of the meal starts basically making some iron rations. That probably, like, you see him taking out salt so he can salt the meat and stuff like that, so that it'll last longer in the iron rations. So he probably makes about 3 days worth of iron rations for a single person. Or no, 7 days worth. Sorry, of iron rations for a single person. All right. So you guys get going again. Anything else you guys want to kind of talk about on the route there, or?
I kind of look at Avok and where do we go from here? Like, we're gonna talk to this Empress, hopefully. What if she doesn't help us?
It's a big place. I'm sure there's something.
Do I hear this? Like, are you saying this to all of us or just Avak?
No, I would have went aside with Avok.
Okay.
One way or another, we're getting home.
That's good enough for me.
Good.
I think at this point, like, Fade's kind of realizing with this much unknown, with this much world, with what this guy's talking about that they have here, and after seeing that machine back in the Platinum City and the tiefling technology that was subjugating the Elaine's dragon patron, and then seeing Corin's undead stuff, like, I just want to, like, make something. Like, with all the crap that we've seen, I just want to put something together. So I just asked Willow if she's got any gadgets or anything on her that we can just experiment with, because I need to be doing something right now.
She pulls out of her pack a little mechanical cat that she'd made for Kata when we were with the pirates, and you can play with this one, and I can kind of teach you and go along. I have another one that I can work on.
I pull out a hammer and pretend like I'm going to smash it. Just kidding.
She cringes a little bit, but
Just kidding.
gonna let it go.
Yeah, that keeps me busy for a while.
Okay. So another 4 hours pass, and you guys come to this really kind of delightful village. It's relatively large compared to what you guys would consider a village, like wood elves. From your knowledge, wood elves lived in villages, which were small enough to basically be packed up in about 10 minutes, in case the Eladrin were coming for a culling. This is bigger than that. To walk from one end of this village to the other would probably take a good 30 minutes. And there's, big houses and things like that, and you can see, taverns and stuff. You guys basically approach it from a hill, so you can kind of overlook the whole thing. And there is this river that runs and kind of snakes its way through the village and then goes off. You can see it's dammed at one end of the village, and can see a fair amount of stuff happening. You can see little barges on it, traveling around and getting goods to and from different areas of the village, and then leaving the village and continuing on down the river. So it's quite a lively little community. And Aramis turns to you guys and is like, so, let's get down there. I guess I should ask. I mean, not that, you're really going to need it, but do you guys have any money where you come from? I mean, these people kind of expect to be paid for goods and services.
Didn't we?
What's that hide worth?
You could, depending on how good you are at haggling, you could probably get at least 20 or 30 gold pieces out of it. If you're really convincing, you might be able to get 40 or 50. The single hide's not going to be worth too much, but again,
More than I have.
we got it relatively far away. Those particular animals don't tend to get too close to settlements because they get hunted. The fur is relatively useful, and the hides themselves are relatively useful. So, yeah, they've kind of been hunted away from the settlements in general. They're smarter than they look. Which is why I had such a hard time tracking them.
Well, we got all that coin at Sunken Dwarven Village, didn't we?
Yeah, I've been sitting on this for a long time. It's kind of hard to
just
spend
checking.
money.
I sincerely doubt. I mean, you guys are going to be kind of a novelty act. Well, except for you, Fade. They're kind of used to Eladrin here. But humans will be kind of a novelty act, and gnomes. I mean, especially a gnome in full magical, which will be
8 hours.
fading momentarily. Probably by the time you guys get to the city, that
Have we been traveling for 8 hours?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it was again, it was a day's journey, and you guys actually stopped for lunch as well. So
Sure.
yeah,
That's fine then.
Generally a day's journey, quote unquote, is going to be roughly about 8 hours. Because that leaves time for getting food and sleeping and setting up and taking down camp and stuff like that. So if you push yourself, a day's journey can turn into 12 hours. It's generally the longest you'll travel in a day. And that can lead to exhaustion levels if you do it too often.
Yeah.
So.
Don't need that.
Yeah, we don't need that.
So it takes you guys another 20, 30 minutes to actually get into the town. And as you get in, a few people kind of greet Aramis very warmly. There's this really, really big guy who has pale skin and tattoos all over it. Completely bare, shaved head. And stands a good, 1.5 foot, 2 feet taller than the tallest Eladrin you've ever seen. And he comes up to Aramis and just grabs him into this bear hug and lifts him up and goes, Aramis, my friend, it is wonderful to see you. And you bring pets? And
Excuse me.
Aramis goes, no, no, no. They're let's just say they're new to the area. Those are humans. Humans? Yeah, I know, right? Well, what is the tiny one? Oh, that's a gnome. A gnome? I haven't seen one of those since I left the terrestrial commonwealth. And he comes over and he gets down on one knee and he's still like 3 feet taller than you, Willow. So he crouches down a little bit lower to try and get eye level. He's like, hello, little gnome. What is your name?
My name is Willow, and yours?
I am Thunderstruck.
And she holds out her hand.
And his hand, like,
Oh, yeah.
completely engulfs you. But he's very, very, very ginger. And, you know, he doesn't, like, crush your hand or anything like that. He's like, I must say, you are adorable. My daughter would absolutely love you.
Well, I'd be delighted to meet her.
Fantastic. It's set then. You will all be my guests for dinner tonight. You are welcome as well, Aramis. Though you will not be getting out of cleanup this time. I know what you do, and I'm not going to allow you to do it. There will be no card games. There will be no dice. And you see Aramis just kind of have a sheepish grin. I don't know what you're talking about. I won that game fair and square. Well, since you are so new, I shall be your guide. Someone remind me the name of the town. My memory is that bad right now. Say again?
Shorestock.
Shorestock. This is Shorestock. It is a beautiful community. Everyone, and he just starts yelling, come and meet our new friends. They have traveled long and far to meet us. And you see people start coming out, and you can see most of them are just the tiniest bit annoyed. You get the idea that he probably does this on a regular basis, and it's not a socially acceptable behavior. But people just kind of deal with it, or at least that's kind of the expression you're getting from people. But then they start to notice you guys, and Avok and Kata specifically. And then they all tend to always get to Willow last. And you hear whispering and things like that, and you see a few people kind of waving and you know, offering greetings and stuff. And you get a couple people doing sales pitches to you. You know, if you're in need of shoes, come by my store. We have the greatest shoes in all the Verdant Empire. So you get a few of those things. And Willow, you're kind of a little bit overwhelmed. All of you are a little bit overwhelmed with the attention to the point where, Willow, you don't actually realize until she is right next to you. A small Eladrin girl has walked right up to you, and she stops uncomfortably close. She obviously has not learned personal space just yet, and you think she can't be older than 5 years old. And so she comes over, and she just kind of looks at you, and you see her kind of put her finger out, and she just kind of touches your cheek, and then giggles for a little bit, and you're like, you're my size.
I am. And what's your name?
Esmeralda?
It's a beautiful name.
She talked to me. Yes, that, and you see this mother come over, and she's kind of red in the face a little bit with embarrassment, and she's like, I'm so very sorry. Esmeralda, we don't do that to people. It's very rude. But, Mommy, she smiled at me. I think she thinks it's okay. She's different, Mommy. Yes, she is. But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. That means she's extra special. Yeah, Mommy, can we keep her? We don't keep other... I am so sorry about this, Miss.
Okay, it's the age. They're curious. I understand.
and then she sees Kata and is blown away. She comes over and says, "Mommy, she's like a cat." And you can just see, like, the mother's face is just bright red at this point. And she's doing everything she can to kind of rein her daughter in. And you just get the idea that this daughter is a very free spirit. And Esmeralda comes over to Kata and she goes, "You're my size too." Well, and Kata, you are a little bit taller than her.
Yeah.
You're not Willow size.
Yeah.
But you're a petite girl.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Do you want to play?"
Okay.
Yay! And she grabs your hand, and you're surprised by how firm a grip she has. She grabs your hand and just yanks you off and pulls you into a house nearby. And you guys kind of run through this house, and you get knocked into a wall every so often because she's just going. And she takes you outside, and there's like a little backyard kind of area, and you can see a couple wooden figures and a few dolls, like a few. I'm trying to think of what they're called, like straw dolls and stuff like that. And so she comes over and she kind of puts you there, and she kind of tries to push you down to force you to sit, but she doesn't have that kind of strength. So she just kind of pushes on you to try and encourage you to sit down. And then she just kind of goes over and she gets a couple of the wooden figures that are carved into various animals that you don't recognize. And she kind of puts them in front of you, and she goes, "And this is the shepherd, and he takes care of all the animals. And so you can be." And she just starts shouting out these random words that don't make any sense to you. You think they're the names of the creatures, but you're not even catching what they are. She's just talking so fast. And then she picks up another doll and goes, "And this is his wife, and she does not like that he's just a shepherd because he's supposed to be doing something more with his life, and he's wasting all of his talent and opportunity." And you're kind of getting that this is probably a conversation she's overheard her parents having. It's bleeding into her game. And so she's sitting there going, "Oh, it's time for me to go out and shepherd the animals." "But you're supposed to be doing something useful. We don't even get milk from these animals. They're just pets. You're not a shepherd. You have lots of pets." "No, I'm a shepherd because they are beautiful animals." And she's having the time of her life. Almost oblivious to the fact that you're there now. So the rest of you guys watching Kata get kidnapped by a 5-year-old. What would you guys like to do?
Willow is watching. She's smiling, but there's this sadness and recognition in her eyes just watching it.
Okay. Yeah, you guys can kind of walk around the house to get to the garden. They didn't need to go through the house. That's just apparently the path the child decided to take. So you guys can see
Because
Kata
5-year-olds.
Yeah, it's a 5-year-old. You guys can see Kata in the back with this kid that is having the time of her life with her brand new friend, who she is convinced is part cat.
Kata, you could blow her mind right now. I look at the mom and ask her, "We're new in town. Is there a place of worship here?"
Depending on the god that you worship, we're relatively small, so we don't have quite as many temples as the larger cities. But
Of course.
if you give me a couple seconds to actually remember what they're all called, I wrote all this stuff, guys. That's the sad part. We have a temple to the nurturing gardener, and the almighty Magus, and the gentle healer. And there is an altar to the Dark Lady over by the cemetery, where if you do have a departed loved one, you can say some words.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Again, and she turns to the rest of you guys. Again, I apologize for Esmeralda. We don't get many non-military visitors to the village, so she's just excited to see new faces is all. And you are quite new faces, to say the least. Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is Karina. I work in the local tavern. I'm the baker there. My husband is probably playing with his pets. Yes. But if you're looking for good food, we have the best scones in town. I make them myself.
Sounds lovely.
Cool.
I'll go get your friend. Esmeralda, and you see her kind of walk over. Esmeralda, I know you're very happy to meet your new friend here, but she has things that she has to do. Nuh-uh, Mama. See, she's playing with me. She's playing all the animals, 'cause she's a cat. That's very nice, but she has things that she needs to do. Nuh-uh. And she turns to you. Nuh-uh. You want to stay and play with me, don't you? Now, it's not very nice to just put her on the spot like that, is that, Esmeralda? But, Mama, we're playing, and then she's going to be the animals, and then I'm the shepherd, and then... And you see her just kind of, you know what we can do? I am so busy at work today, I could probably use a helper. Do you want to help Mama make the scones today? And her eyes kind of light up. She's like, yeah! All right, let's go. And it's actually nighttime. She's like, let's go to the kitchen and we can make some scones, and maybe we can give some to your new friends once they're done baking. Yeah! And she runs in. Leaves all of her toys there. You see the mother just kind of sigh, start picking up the toys.
Do any of the toys look extra interesting?
They're relatively basic. Like, again, they're wooden carved animal figures that look like they were probably just whittled and then painted, and then straw dolls that don't have faces, but have little clothes that can be removed and changed and things like that. So,
Cool.
you know, nothing elaborate. All of it is stuff that was probably made by her parents.
Is there, boy, this is silly, but is there a piece of stone anywhere around the size of a ball?
You could try and find one. Make an investigation check.
Yeah, we're going to try that. We're going to try to bring some joy to the world, because there's not much of it right now in Fade's eyes. Investigation, I have a massive 12.
12. That's good enough. It takes you about 10 minutes, but you find, a stone on the side of the road.
I would like to use stone shape and see if I can make a set of figurines that loosely resemble us.
Oh.
And just mix them up with her toys. Like, I don't want to give them to her. I just want her to have them.
To do something that intricate would require really, really fine control of the magic itself. The spell isn't technically designed to do that, so I'm going to have you make a spell attack roll.
17 plus 7. plus
Okay.
9.
So
28.
you sit there, and again, you're slowly learning how magic works differently in the Feywild than it does, and again, you don't have the connection to the Dark Lady that you're used to having,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of weird. But you use this, and it takes you probably close to 20 minutes to do it. But you sit there and you use stone shape and you kind of form and change things, and you get some reasonably well shaped figures that, if they're standing, like if you're near them, you can definitely tell which one is
I'd,
designed to look like which person.
yeah, I'd want to make the one that looks like Kata like super detailed compared to the rest.
You do as good as you can.
Do I see
Yep.
Again,
what
it's the
it's
first
happening?
time you've ever used the spell in this particular way, so.
Yep.
But it's
this inside
obvious
of
that
us?
they're little figures that are designed to be you guys.
So cute.
So is this inside of us? Like you're doing this just us hanging out outside?
Yeah.
Then I pull
I was picking up toys.
out my tinker tools and help you get them more refined.
Oh,
Okay. So she does, after you get the basic shape, she actually, because you couldn't really make faces, you don't have that kind of control.
Mm-hmm.
Pull out my
So she's able
magnifying
to
glass, and my little tools, and
carve some faces in there and stuff
transmute
like
it a
that.
little bit.
You can even press to digitize them and color them if you want.
I was going to transmute them, but that works.
Oh, that works too.
Yeah.
I think transmutation, that's temporary though, isn't it? Or is
Yeah.
color permanent?
In small amounts.
Okay. Because I know prestidigitation's permanent color changes, so.
I don't have it, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So you guys, you do your best Painters Guild impression, and you make these little figurines. And do you want to? Because by the time you guys are done, the toys are picked up and put inside. Do you want to give them to the mother, or do you want to give them to the kid?
I hand them to Kata and say, "This is for your friend."
Okay, so Kata, you now have 4 figures, one of which looks just like you, and the rest look like your friends. Or I guess 5 figures, because Elaine's with you guys too. Just Elaine is remarkably silent.
Rogue's gonna rogue, dude.
Yeah,
Are they like making scones?
You don't know. They're inside their house right now.
Okay, I'll wait until they're done.
Okay. Again, you'll have to kind of knock on their door to find out what's going on, because they're in their house right now. So you go up to the door, you knock on it, the mother answers, and you go, "Oh, hello again," and you see the kid kind of peek out from beside her leg. She's kind of hiding behind her mother's leg, and then she sees you. She comes out and she's like, "My friend is back." And then she runs inside before you can do anything, and you just see the mother just kind of shake her head, and then she comes back and she's got this kind of poorly formed scone that is piping hot. Like you can see steam rising off of it on a little plate, and she's, "Look what I made for you." And the mother goes, and the mother just kind of looks at you and goes, she very carefully whispers to you, "It may not look perfect, but it's safe, I promise." And she's just holding it up, all excited and waiting for you to take it.
I take these if you take these.
Okay, and so she
All of us.
kind of gives it to you, and then she looks at these, and her eyes get bigger than her head. She's like, Mama, look, my new friends. I have dolls of my new friends." And the mother goes, "And what do you say?" "Thank you."
Welcome.
and then she just bolts back inside. And as you try the
I
scone, it's very well made. Like it's a good scone. Very strong buttery flavor. Very light and flaky. It has been a long time since I've had a scone, so I'm trying to remember what scones are supposed to taste like. But it tastes like what a scone's supposed to taste like.
Dense and buttery.
I miss
Was
scones.
Aramis like taking us somewhere, or is he just kind of letting us?
When he saw you guys kind of stop to do the thing, he kind of said, "Hey, I got some stuff to take care of. I'll be back in a little." And he went off with Thunderstruck to do something. You have no idea what. Shortly after you give them back, you see him kind of meandering over to see if you guys are ready to move on.
I asked him if we're going to be passing the graveyard anytime soon.
No, that's on the edge of town. Surprisingly enough, people don't sleep too well next to dead bodies. If you want, I can take you there. It's on the other side of town, so it'll be about 20 minutes. But
I just kind of look at everybody, and I'm sorry, but I have to go there.
yeah, no problem, man. And you guys kind of feel a rumble in the earth as Thunderstruck comes by. Well, are you all ready for the greatest stone stew you have ever had?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, just don't pet him too hard. And you can see there's some sort of inside joke there. And he's like, I will be... That only happened once. And they eventually recovered with a resurrection spell.
Oh my!
And you can see they're kind of
God, it's lonely.
pulling your legs. And he gives a big belly laugh. He's like, just kidding. Come on. The wife wants to meet you. And he kind of brings you guys further down. Fade and Aramis kind of walk off on their own. So again, the journey takes about 20 minutes. Is there anything you say to Aramis? Aramis doesn't seem to be prying too much into this. He's just kind of walking, leading you where you need to go.
Sure.
Because, again, the Dark Lady is generally not something that death and things like that. You generally don't pry.
Yeah. I will offer to him that I will reach into my pouch, and there were two things I grabbed from the body of dear old Dad, and that was the holy symbol of guiding beacon, and his family signet ring, and I am going to put them at rest and hopefully move past what was necessary.
Okay.
And then once we get there, I'm going to look for the small shrine that I was told exists here.
Yep. It's about 2 feet high. It's a very small shrine. It's got the symbol of the Dark Lady on it, and you can see there's a little cup there, or a little bowl. I mean, that you can see some copper pieces and a few silver pieces are in. You can see some flowers and stuff like that. Some have withered, just from it being there for so long. And then there's also in this kind of covered box, you can see some incense and an incense burner there. The incense itself does not look, because again, it's out in the elements and things like that.
Sure.
Does not look particularly amazing, but it looks like it'll burn the way it's supposed to.
I'm going to take a few minutes and kind of like just with my hands, or no, I'll use the claw that I have to dig up a small area of ground, just big enough for this holy symbol.
Okay.
And I will put the ring on an edge of it, and I will bury it, and then I will Is Aramis close by or no? Is he in
He's
space?
close enough to be able to keep an eye on you,
Sure. Okay.
but is giving you space.
Then I'm going to ritual cast a spell,
Okay.
and then I
Any
will.
particular spell, or you just gonna...
Yes, I'm going to cast Word of Recall.
I'm actually not familiar with the spell. What does it do?
It's a save point, so I can teleport 5 of us here using my highest level spell if in a pinch.
That is an interesting spell that I was not aware existed.
Yeah.
Love
Is
it.
that PHB or is that from...
No, that's old.
It's
That's PHP.
from.
That's cool.
Book. And then I will say thank you for showing us here. And
Yeah, no
head
problem.
back.
Just point of reference. Normally we don't bury holy symbols. Like some people might take that as an affront. Is there a reason that do you have a problem with the guiding beacon?
That was my father's.
Oh, no, understand. I'm sorry I asked. I
don't know if there's anything left over there. That's all I have to.
I'm super sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up.
That's fine.
Let's go back with your friends.
Yep.
So by the time you meet up, the rest of you guys, you come to this house that looks as if it's been hewn out of large boulders that were just stacked on top of each other. And when you get inside, you notice the wife of this very, very large person is an Eladrin woman. And you can see this half Eladrin, half Goliath girl kind of running around and, just doing kid stuff as you come in and Thunderstruck comes over like, honey, I'm home. And you see his wife go, you are the largest person in this town by 2 feet. We are never, ever going to miss you coming home. No one ever misses you coming home. Everybody in the town knows that you're home. You do not have to. And then she sees that there are other people here. Hi. Oh, it's so lovely to meet you. Why didn't you tell me you brought company? Hi. My name is Fina. And this is my very rude husband, Thunderstruck, who doesn't tell his wife when he's bringing complete strangers over.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
And that's when and then she sees Aramis. She's like, Aramis, is this your doing? No. This was Thunderstruck. I had nothing to do with this at all. A likely story. I paid the guards to tell me if you came back into town so that I could be prepared for whatever you and Thunderstruck got into, and I am going to have a word with the town, the head of the town guard. This is unacceptable. I need warnings. And she completely changes and she turns to the rest of you. It's lovely to meet you all. Welcome to our home. I'm going to make sure I have enough food for you. I'll be back. And she goes into what you assume is the kitchen.
Avok asks Aramis, just like, what the hell did you do?
I did nothing. I have always been a perfect gentleman. Thunderstruck, on the other hand, you are not going to blame this on me. This was as much your fault as it was my fault. And you see them just kind of very lightheartedly bickering between each other. And finally, Aramis goes, we've known each other for a little while, and we get into trouble. It's not that big a deal. I mean, her hair turned back to its natural color. That's all I'm saying, okay?
Alright, I get it.
I thought it looked better. Well, she didn't. It was really funny, though. You should have seen her face when she looked in the mirror and her hair was emerald green and looked like snakes. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, she just didn't take it that way. She knew what she was getting into when she married me. I don't know what to say. So let's, and Aramis goes, let's not talk about that, because she will bring it up, and then I have to start apologizing again. Here, guys. And he kind of gestures you over to some furniture, couches and chairs and stuff like that. Go ahead and sit down. I'm sure dinner will be ready at any moment. And don't worry, it's just called rock stew. There's no actual rocks in it.
Aww.
Not anymore. It was a lot better than when it did. They don't know that you're joking. And so you guys sit down, and it's a nice, quaint little place. There's a fireplace there that Aramis kind of flicks his wrist, and a fire starts up. And again, it's kind of eternally twilight in the town, but you do see the sky is changing from the. I'm trying to remember what colors I used before. I believe during the day it's this kind of yellowish, golden color, and now it's turning to this kind of pink. Maroon kind of color. And so Aramis and Thunderstruck keep having conversations and making jokes to themselves and everything like that, and they seem to be very good friends. Is there anything that you guys want to do while you're waiting for dinner?
I want to talk to Thunderstruck and see what they do for fun around here.
Oh, well, to be perfectly honest, I'm a little bit too busy to have too much fun. I work on the shipping barges. I help to ensure goods get from one side of the city to the other, and sometimes outside of the city when they need me. But it's a full-time job, so it takes up most of my time. Generally, most of the fun I have is when Aramis comes to visit me. Yes, but not, and you hear from the kitchen, not everyone considers that fun. Will you finish dinner, woman? And you see her come out. She's like, woman? I'm very sorry. That was. I would never, because you are beautiful and a wonderful woman, and you have a name, and I should never refer to you as woman. I'm very sorry. And you see him almost shrink in size as this little Ladrin woman just gives him dagger eyes, and then she goes back into the kitchen, and Aramis just kind of slaps him across the back of the head. You deserved that. Sometimes I forget that her sense of humor is not the same as mine. This voice is so bad for my throat. Thunderstruck may start speaking less. So dinner eventually comes out, and it's this very, very hearty stew. There are potato-like things in it, and some... oh, God, now I'm trying to remember vegetables that I can't remember. It's just a super hearty stew. You know, it's one of those things that after you eat it, you feel it. But yeah, carrots and some mushrooms in there, and some, not radishes, turnips. There we go, turnips. Just a real thick, hearty stew. And everybody eats it, and the little girl eats it, and then literally as soon as she's done, she goes, "Mommy, can I go play again?" Yes, you can. Just make sure you clean up your toys. You have an hour before bedtime. Okay, Mommy. She runs off, goes upstairs. The house itself, again, is entirely made of stone. In Fade, you would kind of recognize the mark of stone shape. It's obvious the house itself has been stone shaped. So it's very, very nice, very, very sturdy. But there's lots of rugs and things like that, and some wall coverings and stuff like that to make it not look like they're just living in a cave. And Thunderstruck and his wife are very nice hosts and everything like that. And as it starts to get later, they go, well, you guys are going to need a place to stay, aren't you? We don't have enough beds for you, but the tavern just down the street. Oh, don't worry. I'll take them there. Your rooms are on me tonight. You've been delightful.
You're very kind. Thank you for your hospitality.
And you see him kind of putting on a cloak, and he turns to his wife and goes, "All right, honey," and he gives her a big kiss. He's like, "I'll be back in about 20." And he kind of leads you guys to a tavern that has billiards. You can see what look like billiard balls and like a pool cue on the sign. And as you come in, you see a gentleman standing behind the counter. There's not a whole lot of people there, and you can as you get in, you can kind of smell the after effects of a dinner. You can, that kind of lingering scent after dinner's been served and everything like that. And you see this guy go, "Oh, hello there. It's lovely to see you again, Thunderstruck. So who are your friends?" "Oh, these are them. Oh, that's simply wonderful. I am Percival. This is my establishment. It's called the Tricks Yacht. And it's lovely to meet you all. I'm assuming you are looking for residence for the night. Am I correct in assuming that?"
Yes, thank you.
Simply lovely. Yes. All right. So, how many rooms will you be needing for the night? Would all of you like your own room? Would you like to sleep together?
What do you charge for a room, Parsifal?
And this is when Thunderstruck goes, "He will charge nothing because I am taking care of the rooms for tonight." "Oh, that's perfectly all right. It's so rare that we have guests of your caliber here. Please do not worry. I have many open rooms for the night. I'm perfectly fine donating them to the cause. So do not worry about the cost. We simply wish for you to be comfortable in our little town. Perhaps you could mention how welcoming we are to the higher ups in Alanduel. Maybe they'll give us some more funding, or maybe some recognition, or a knight commander. Anything like that. That would be lovely."
We will do our best. Thank you, Percival.
Not a problem. So, how many rooms would you like?
How many rooms do you have? As I look at Thunderstruck.
Well, I have more than 4 that are open right now. So if you each would like your own room, I have enough for that.
Kata, I don't mind sharing again if you don't.
I don't mind.
Well then, and he goes behind and he gets a key out. One room for the lovely ladies, and for the gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm taking my own room.
Not a problem, sir. And he gives you a key. And then here is your key, sir. Ladies, your room is actually on the ground floor. If you just follow this hallway, it will be the fourth door on your left. You, sir, are upstairs. It is the third door on your right. And then he turns to Fade. And you, sir, are on the third floor. It is the first door on your left as soon as you get to the top of the stairs.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. It's just so lovely to have people in my rooms again. Before the war, we had so many more people in here, despite the fact that I wasn't actually running it at that point with my dear father, but it's nice to see some of these rooms getting used by more than just the military, who are lovely people, don't get me wrong. They just simply, well, they're not very talkative. They come in, they get their rooms, they eat, they leave a mess, which I will never understand. I mean, they're very wonderful, polite people, but they just always leave a mess. Anyway, I've talked far too much. Enjoy your rooms for the night.
Thank you.
Does Avox see a bar of some kind in this place?
Well, the tavern where you were talking to the guy and he got the keys is bar and, host desk in one. So there, you could see alcohol on the shelves behind them.
Good. Well, I see something that I haven't had in a while. Percival, I need booze.
And then Thunderstruck sees what you're doing. He's like, ah ha ha! And he kind of smacks you across the back. He's like, a man after my own heart. Give us your best drinks. And Percival goes over, takes a bottle off the top shelf, and starts pouring you. Would you like this straight or on the rocks?
What's the difference?
Oh, you may not be aware. We certain drinks, certain people like them chilled, and so we create ice and we put it in the glasses and then pour the drink over it and it makes it very, very cold. It's very nice. If you've never tried it, you may enjoy it. I mean, the ice eventually melts and it waters down the drink, but
I'll pass on the ice. Just
not a problem. And he pours you what you would consider probably the equivalent of maybe like bourbon.
Fine with me. Well, I am downing
It's smooth. It's smooth. It's nice. It's good. It's good alcohol. Not like the best alcohol in the world, but for a small town, this is pretty good.
I could use a drink too. Do you have any mulled wine?
Let me see if we have some left over from dinner.
Thank you.
And he comes back and he's got a goblet with mulled wine in it. For you, lady. And he goes, that's on me as well.
Thank you. And out of habit, she
keep
pulls
this
out her...
And pours you another drink.
Out of habit, Will pops out a mage hand and mixes her drink up and...
Nice.
And as you start doing that, Percival is fascinated and comes over and without saying anything just watches you, and you see him pull a notebook out from like a back pocket and just start taking notes. And after you're done, he goes, I'm very, very sorry. Do you have a name for what it is that you just did?
The Silver Spark.
This looks lovely. You will have to tell me exactly the spices and thing that you use it, because to be perfectly honest, I have not had a chance to experiment with any of my drinks in a very long time because, well, the military people, they want ale, and that's all they ever drink. Mm-hmm. So seeing another mixologist is very, very exciting. It's so rare to find another mythologist.
Well, if you have a piece of paper, I'd be happy to write it down for you.
Oh, perfect. And he takes his notebook and just kind of puts it in front of you with the charcoal pencil.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, this will be lovely. And you see him go in the back and just start practicing.
First of all, if you're going to do that, just please leave the bottle.
And he doesn't seem to hear you, and you just watch as Thunderstruck reaches over the bar. He doesn't even have to try very hard. He just reaches over the bar, takes the bottle, puts it down. He's like, don't worry. I know the owner.
Avok goes for a fist bump. Thanks. Thane, Kata, you like to join us?
I'll look up from the little gadget that Willow gave me and come over, sit down, and not drink anything.
Okay.
I will curiously take a drink.
Are you trying something that Willow is drinking, or are you trying something that Avok is drinking? Because the alcohol content is very different. So as you take a swig of this kind of clear brown liquid, as soon as it hits your mouth, it kind of burns a little bit, and as it goes down, it burns all the way down. It's not an incredibly unpleasant, and it's very, very bitter, since you're not really used to drinking alcohol. But since you have a full stomach, it doesn't really hit you that hard. But you do cough a little bit when you first, you take your first sip, and you realize that this liquid burns.
Oh, wow. I just realized she probably has heard. Okay, yeah. Well, let's think.
You feel very, very comfortable. I had just to go completely off topic, I had a friend who, when she drank, what would happen is she would reach a point where she would just collapse on the floor. She wouldn't fall or faint or anything. You would just look at her one moment and she's standing, look away for a second, and then look back, and then she's on the floor. No thud, no nothing. She just magically appeared on the floor. And when you'd go over and it's like, okay, I think you've had enough, she's like, no, I feel really good.
That's
Sounds
someone
like
who
okay.
needed a designated driver.
And then we'd sit her down and take away her booze for the rest of the night.
All right.
Anyway, back to the game.
Yep. It's time for the drunken conversation scene. Okay. So yeah, Avok is just constantly refilling the glass and just. Okay, guys. This place is so weird to me. Am I the only person who thinks that?
People are so nice to us.
People are happy.
Yeah.
Well, part of that,
like it's normal.
the war really hasn't reached here. The men and women that serve the Verdant Empire take pride in the fact that they're able to keep the war away from most of the populace. They know we don't hide that we're at war, but they do their best to ensure that none of the common folk have to deal with the horrors that war brings. And they do a very good job of that.
Must be really good soldiers then.
They are the greatest army on any plane. I was lucky enough when I first arrived here to earn my citizenship, I served with them. They are wonderful people. Well, I'll let you all finish your night without me. And you see him go into a belt pouch, and he puts a handful of gold pieces on the counter. For whenever Percival gets back, that should cover the bottle.
Thank you.
I am probably going to get it from my wife. Hopefully, I will see you before you leave. It has been wonderful meeting you. And he does this very low bow, knocks over a table. My bad. Have a good night. And he saunters out.
Night, night.
Cheers, man.
Lilith finishes her wine and then pours some of what Avok's drinking into her cup.
It's stronger than mulled wine. But again,
She was a bartender.
yeah, you know, you could, you are kind of impressed by the fact that it's a new flavor that you've never dealt with before. Because again, it's from a different plane of existence.
Sure.
But you can definitely tell it's a version of kind of bourbon.
Okay.
Just with some flavors and undertones that you've never tasted before.
Mm.
So your mixologist mind is instantly
Oh, of
going
course.
through, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. This would... But it's relatively strong.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you guys want to do before you go to bed?
I want to milk this scene, so
Oh, okay, that's fine. I
yeah.
will sit back.
Hey guys, holding up.
Okay.
Well, just
Not
pat-
quite
pat-
what I meant, but yeah. Food.
Just playing with the gadget.
It's just, I guess it's, what do they call it? Culture shock or something like that. I don't know. It's just,
I don't like these are my people again. And like you said, people here are nice.
yeah, it's just so fucking weird. I don't know. I spent all my life living under such oppressive rule from your people. Granted, different opinion, different style back home, but it's just, I don't know. I think I mean, seeing all this joy and happiness is great. It's just, it's not home.
You realize we didn't just leave my friend in the Council of One's chambers. We left everybody that we brought to the Platinum City. We brought everyone. We brought the Dream. We brought everyone we could, and they could all just be gone.
I don't know. It's just like the fucking universe telling us that, like, uh, that um, we found something better. I don't fucking know. It's just seeing those kids like it's just I don't know. It's like I was hoping to see the faces from those kids on the kids back in the material plane, like like after like we killed the council fuck one, and you think
Yeah, Christopher.
okay, no more for her.
You've been cut off.
Just after all of that, and our reward is pretty much coming to a place that seems better in a sense, but isn't home. How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
It's fucking bullshit. I'm gonna go to bed. Avok takes the what remains in the bottle and just chugs it all down, and
There wasn't much left.
I figured.
Yeah.
And he just goes up to the second floor and collapses on his bed.
Okay.
That's all.
I look at Willow and say, "Can you hang around for a minute?"
Of course.
And I go through when we were with Talone and he was communicating with people. He got some pretty big distance and through all kinds of crap. And then Fade mechanically wants to talk about what that spell experience was like
Mm-hmm.
and wants to try casting Sending to contact some people back home.
Okay.
And with Willow's help, he wants to see if he can break through whatever's keeping all the planes separate, and just see if the experience from Talone's
Okay.
casting of that spell at all.
Willow, go ahead and roll me a Arcana check.
Sure. 16.
Okay. So your knowledge of magic is for most mortal race of the mortal races. You would be considered an expert in magic.
Right.
The things that Talon did, based on your understanding, aren't possible. Like you cannot come up, like they broke laws that you have based your magic and experimentation on. They just completely broke them.
Okay.
So just kind of experiencing one, and Fade, you two are relatively knowledgeable about arcane magic in general, not quite to the level that Willow is. But both of you, just from experiencing his magic, have no idea how it worked. I believe Sending requires you to be on the same plane, correct?
It's not.
Normally.
I just checked
It doesn't?
If you're not on the same plane, there's a 5% chance that it doesn't arrive, but only 5.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So what I'm going to have you guys do, first things first, Fade, go ahead and roll me percentile dice.
Sure.
And since Willow's helping you out with this, I'll say you have advantage on the percentile dice, which I don't think I've ever done in a D&D game, but...
That's fun. All right, so first set is 54.
Okay.
Second set is 71.
Okay. So you sit there and you start crafting the sending spell. And who are you trying to contact? Because you do have to have a target.
Right. I think we didn't really get into it, but he's going to try his sister. I guess.
So you sit there and you form this picture in your mind of your sister as you knew her. You technically still haven't technically seen her in
For quite a while.
Yeah, in months. But you get this image in your mind of your sister. And you start casting the sending spell and you start crafting it. And as you start going, Willow, you are sitting there and using your kind of arcane abilities to kind of help craft the spell and strengthen the signal is the best word for it. Can't stop the signal. And then you put on brown coats and aim to misbehave. And as you're sitting there going and sending it, you've used the sending spell before. Generally what happens is you form this picture in your mind of the person, and then you cast the spell, and the picture in your mind slowly kind of coalesces into an actual communication with them. And so the communication kind of fades into existence as the spell completes. This time, as you're sitting there and you're starting to feel the kind of target, you suddenly feel like you have just run headlong into a brick wall. And both of you actually fall out of your chairs when this happens. Just because of how jarring it is. And you actually feel kind of a shock run across your body as you hit this brick wall. And you both take 4 points of psychic damage as you get this kind of feedback from it. And you hear this kind of laughter in the back of your head. But it's so faint you can't even really tell much about it other than you can just hear this. And then the spell is over.
Oh, that laughter. No. That's not fun.
No.
Out of curiosity, is that the sound of that laughter? Would Faye have been able to recognize, like, I don't know, who that would have came from?
The sound was so faint that he couldn't even tell if it was feminine or masculine.
Okay.
Or something in between. Like, it was just very, very, very faint laughter.
I look at Willow. I help her up.
You're both a little shaken. Kata, you're a little bit surprised that your friends just fell out of their chairs and kind of face planted on the
she
floor.
falls out of her chair in response.
We have bigger problems than any of us realize. I guess maybe getting home.
Who's
One
maintaining
of the
that
things we
barrier?
need to- I don't. Nothing makes sense anymore.
No.
And
We'll find a way.
yeah, I hope so.
So you guys go to bed then, or?
Yes.
Okay. Kata, you sleep very, very well. Willow, again, the beds that you guys have are some of the most comfortable that you slept on in a very, very long time.
Even so, out of habit, she sets up the alarm spell before going to bed.
Okay. You guys have a fairly restful night. Kata oversleeps a little bit. Again, not quite used to the effects of
Alcohol.
alcohol. But the rest of you guys wake up fairly regular. Avok, you've got a bit of a hangover. But it's not horrible. You've had worse. And as you guys all come downstairs, you notice that there are men downstairs in full armor, kind of waiting and talking with Percival. And as soon as you guys appear, you see all of them kind of get into rank and file. And one person in the front is just standing there at attention, waiting for you guys to come down.
Oh.
Please tell me it's Aramis.
It is not.
Christ almighty. Okay.
They're standing at attention.
Kind of at ease, but they
Okay.
are in rank and file.
Gotcha.
So they're in lines and things like that, and they seem to be waiting for you.
Are there any windows?
Yeah, there's plenty of windows.
Can I try to Misty step outside?
If you want to.
I do.
Okay. You again kind of see the world in ultraviolet, and you kind of step through, and you appear outside.
I just come in the front door. I just don't want them. I want to be behind them.
When you get outside, you notice that there is an even larger group of soldiers outside
That's fine.
that see you kind of misty step, and they all just kind of look at you weird. One thing you do notice, there are probably the majority of them are Eladrin, but there are a lot more than just Eladrin in this army. You see a couple human-looking, quite a few human-looking people, but something's different about them. Like one of them you look at, and he seems to just be sweating profusely. And you can actually see water kind of dripping off of him a little bit.
Sounds like a real gentleman.
Yeah. And then another one has seems to be he has his helmet under his arm and has no hair. There's just fire where his hair should be. And he has like an Errol Flynn kind of goatee that is like bright, blazing red hair for his goatee and his eyebrows and stuff like that. And then his actual hair is just fire. And he's standing there at attention with his helmet underneath his arm. And you see a couple very, very large people that are obviously of the same race as Thunderstruck. And just, I mean, it's a cacophony of different races and things like that. The rest of you guys come downstairs, and you see the commander sits there, and he salutes, brings it down, goes, "Hello there. I've been commanded to escort you to Rubyshire for teleportation to Alanduil so that you may meet and report to the Eternal Empress."
Good morning.
Good morning. I am Lieutenant Cogsworth.
Pleasure.
If you would be so kind, we have quite a journey in front of us. And he kind of gestures, his men just part without saying a word.
Walking forward.
So you come out, you see Fate already kind of standing out there. You see the men are kind of looking at him strange. They see you, they get back into their kind of ready stance. They part. As you guys are going, you see Aramis kind of come over and go, "So, and he's looking at the different guards and things like this, and eventually he runs into Lieutenant Cogsworth, and he goes, "Lieutenant Aramis, it's nice to see you again. Don't be mad. Be happy. I brought you friends." And the lieutenant walks off. He really is a softie inside.
Yeah,
You guys now may be understanding why they don't want me in the army. Yeah. Well, I guess this is goodbye for now. Hope you guys have fun. It's been a blast, but I got work I got to get done. And then you see a hand appear on his shoulder, a gauntlet, and you hear Lieutenant Cogsworth. "That's not quite what's going to be happening." And you see his face go a little bit paler, and he goes, "I'm sorry, what?" "The Eternal Empress has requested, since you were the one who found these refugees, that you report to her as well." But see, no. I'm a scout, and my job is I go out and I scout, and I've got to make sure I know where we have other scouts. Aramis, you are coming with me. Lovely. Oh, this is gonna be fun. And he kind of turns to you guys, and you can just see him you see his expression change from this, like, masking smile to, "Dear God, please help me." "Great! Let's go." And he kind of goes off with Lieutenant Cogsworth. And the rest of the group is kind of waiting for you to follow. All right, so as you guys follow, there is a kind of open wagon. It's got benches on either side, but there's nothing kind of covering the top. And they kind of lead you to that, and they go, "This is how you will travel." And you see a couple other kind of like troop transport kind of wagons that have what look like injured men and things like that in them. But it looks like the majority of the troops are either going to be on horseback, which a few of them are, or just marching on the way there. And the lieutenant comes back and is like, "Is there any other business you have to do before we leave?" And Aramis really went, "Actually, I have a lot of things." "Shut up, Aramis." "Gotcha." And the lieutenant looks at the rest of you guys.
No.
All right, then. And then you hear this, and you see Thunderstruck going, "Wait, wait!" And the lieutenant just goes, "Oh, God." And he comes over, and he gets to Willow first and just scoops you up with this giant bear hug. And gives the rest of you guys hugs that allow it. And goes, "I hope that you will return to us someday. Anytime you come into town, know that you have a hot meal waiting for you at my house."
Thank you.
And then he turns to the lieutenant. He goes, "Lieutenant, guard these with your lives. They are good people." "Of course we will. That's the job." And with that, you guys hear the kind of hit, and the horses start going off, and you start your journey to Rubyshire.
Fair enough.
And that is where we're going to end it for tonight. For those of you watching, thank you for watching. Feel free to, if you missed any of the episodes tonight, I do upload them to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TrainerJody. Feel free to go over there, subscribe if you haven't. I'm still trying to get my partner status back. So go over there. You can actually watch every single episode. I believe this is like episode 54 of this campaign. These guys have been playing, like I said, for almost 3 years now. So yeah, if you want to see the other kind of crazy stuff that these guys have done or know the other things that have happened, go ahead and head over to the YouTube channel. You can start from session 1 and see how the group has kind of changed and grown. Otherwise, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Trainer Jody there. I generally try to tweet before I go live, and every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time, I'm running D&D games here. So I'm either running this one or I have another custom campaign that I run. So feel free to follow me here on Twitch to know whenever I'm going live. And I've recently become an affiliate. So if you would like to, you can subscribe to the channel and you get access to emotes. So yeah, I have an emote for all 3 tiers of subscription. So feel free to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It helps me to, be able to do things like pay for, all the software I use to do this stuff, and other things. So yeah, other than that, that's all from me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.